Welcome to the fifth episode of the What Not to Do series, a podcast where we explore leadership journeys not just by celebrating successes, but by diving into challenges, the missteps, and the tough lessons learned along the way. Today's guest, GC Brown, has a truly unique story. His motto, from the worst of the places to the best of intentions, sums it up perfectly. After spending 16 years in multiple federal facilities for tax related offenses, GC believes that those years were the best thing that ever happened to him. It was during this time that he discovered his passion for writing, which has led to two book series ready for publication. Today, he joins us to talk about the lessons he learned, the mistakes he made, and how he's building a new life as an author, entrepreneur, and soon to be a father of twin boys. GC, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So,
The boys have made it. The twins are here.
oh, great.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank, thank you. Yes, they're here, and they're amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Really happy to know, GC, and congratulations.
Thank you.
GC, you mentioned that your 16 years in the federal prison turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. I am curious, how did writing become the outlet that transformed your life? Was there a moment or a failure that really pushed you to start writing?
Yeah, actually, the failure was I ended up in federal prison. Everything I had ever done had just led to the wrong road. So I
Mhm.
ended up in federal prison and decided that it was time to just be different. So I was a young kid in a big city, making way more money than I should have, and just I wasn't very good with the taxes. I wasn't a young kid. I grew up on a small farm in the Midwest, and just immediately started making money, and just I made some wrong steps along the way, and it cost me. And it turned out to be, just like I said, absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to me.
So how did writing come into play in the prison?
So when I left the streets back in 2007. I was running a diamond mine in Africa, a flower business, an online flower business out of Ecuador, some restaurants in South Florida, real estate, a couple of software companies. So I was extremely busy all the time. And that's the way I liked it. I operate best in the chaos. So when I got to prison, there is none of that. It's just not just boredom, just the absolute worst boredom. There's nothing literally to do. So I went to the counselor, my case manager actually, and asked what I could do. And he kind of laughed and smirked and said, "The only thing you can do is write books. Don't write about your crimes. The only thing you can do is write books."
Mhm.
It kind of forced me into it. That was my only option. I did it, and it just happened to be the best, the first thing I've ever done in my entire life that I'm in love with. I fell in love with writing. It
Oh,
got me
wonderful.
16 years. It turned out it was amazing.
Oh, wonderful. Sniff is just about to be launched. I believe it has a unique story and voice. So, where did the inspiration for the book come from? How much of your own life experiences found their way into the narrative?
Well, so Sniff was written during, like you guys out here, the whole world was locked down during COVID. So
Right.
in prison was a little different. It was you were locked in, but you were locked in a 6 by 9 cell with a steel door with one other person, and that steel door did not open but for 45 minutes total per week. You got 15 minutes on Monday, 15 minutes on Wednesday, and 15 minutes on Friday. That covered showers, that covered phone calls home. If you had to send a quick email, it covered everything, 15 minutes. So you get to know who you live with really well, because this lockdown, as you guys know, went for a long time. So a guy moves into my cell, and we start laughing, and this is the only person to talk to. So we start laughing and talking about the past, talking about this, and he tells me his story. He was kind of a big shot, a big to do, doing financing deals, involved in the money world, doing the right things, living in, going through Dubai, living in Switzerland, the whole deal. Married the woman of his dreams, had the kid he always wanted. Life was great. He comes home from work one day, and the wife, actually, it's in real life, it's the child, developed a terminal, 17 years old, out of nowhere, developed a terminal disease.
Mhm.
So we started laughing. I started telling some of the stories of the African diamond trade, and we got to going on. And I remember clearly, I said, if I could just get this story onto paper, people would love it. So I interchanged everything. Of course, it's fiction, so you had the glitz and the glamour and all that stuff. But it came out to be pretty amazing, pretty fun book, great characters. And
Mhm.
when you're in federal prison, you're in prison with thousands. It's federal prison. It's not state. I mean,
Mhm.
you're with politicians, you're with gangsters, you're with drug lords, you're with bank robbers, you're with a lot of the big boys. So it's all these characters walking around all day long doing their own thing. So there was never a shortage of material to write about. There were characters everywhere, the stories everywhere, something
Mhm.
always going on, some good, some bad, but there was always something to write about. So it just became easy. I would just sit in my room and just write out stuff that I would see and funny stories and twist them around and make them funnier. And out came books out of it.
That's really wonderful. I think you've taken, the great substance out of the prison in those particular years.
Yeah, there's nothing. Don't let anybody tell you there's good about prison, anything good about prison. There's nothing. They're not doing anything to rehabilitate. All this stuff that they tell everybody, it's just
Mhm.
not true. They're not trying to get anybody out of there. Case managers aren't trying to get you sent home when you're supposed to. I was sent home 6.5 months later than when I was supposed to be home, just because lack of just people doing their jobs. The prison system is not what everybody thinks it is, and not everybody in there is guilty. Not everybody in there belongs there as long as they're there. It's the federal system is definitely broken, and it's a. I hope to gain a little bit of traction through these books and stuff, and I plan on being trying to be some sort of spokesperson because I lived it for 16 years. I seen it. I understand business. I understand a lot. I've done a lot in this world. So I seen the stuff that was going on. It's just prison is not good. Not good at all. There's
Yes,
nothing. There's no teaching. You have to either teach yourself and figure out something you want to do, or you just have to watch TV, screw around, do drugs, do riots, do all the stuff that's in prison.
right. So you pretty much had like your highs and lows. So from running multiple businesses to serving time. Looking back, what's one of the biggest mistake you think you made, and how did that mistake lead you to where you are now, both as an author and as an entrepreneur?
Well, so I guess the biggest mistake, and I always ask this to myself, how did I end up where I ended up? One, I was just moving too fast. I just wasn't paying attention to what was going on around me. I trusted a lot of the guys that were around me. I've always prided myself. I grew up on a farm in Indiana, and I've always prided myself in doing the small stuff. Like that's my thing. I'm great at keeping everything together, great at keeping the small stuff. So I got a little bigger and got a little cockier, and I stopped paying attention to the small stuff. And I handed
Hmm.
small stuff, the important stuff, off. And that small stuff turned into 16 years. There were things signed that I never seen. There were things that I signed that I just didn't pay attention to. Just a lot of I dropped the ball. At the end of the day, I dropped the ball. I just stopped doing what I was good at, and got a little cocky, got unappreciative, and just thought that it would never end. Well, rude awakening.
So, like the way you said that these are some of the things that you should have avoided. But do you think that because uh, those things happened, prison happened, has it shaped the life you're living today?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I laid in the bunk one night about, I don't know, must have been 8, 9, 10 years ago. Not quite 10, probably 8 or 9 years ago. And just I realized that everything I've ever done, I've always been able to succeed at. That I was the one that would mess it up. I just would be too big, too cocky. I'd get bored. I'd just start doing craziness for no reason. I never did the drugs and alcohol. I never did that kind of stuff. But I just did. I just made stupid mistakes. So
Mm.
uh, yeah, I just it's tough to even explain sometimes. I don't know what I don't know what the reasons were. I don't know what the reasons were. What was the last part of your question you asked? I'm sorry. I get
So,
to thinking. I get to thinking about prison, just thinking about the stupid stuff that I did to land me there. It was just I. Oh, that's what it was. I realized that I've always been able to succeed. I've always been able to just do it just by pure tenacity and just getting the job done.
mhm.
Well, I just like I said, I would mess stuff up, and I just decided there in prison that I was just done doing that. From now on, I was going to start, and I started the very next day. This wasn't something that I decided, talked about, and I did later on. I started literally. I wrote a note to myself that night. I rolled over, lights were off. I rolled over, wrote a little message on a little sticky pad that I was going to start working on being the best human being that I could possibly be, and all the effort that I'd always put into everything else and got to the
Mm,
top. I was going to do that with this. And the second
mm.
thing I was going to do was become a New York Times bestseller. And I hadn't even started writing yet. I was so new to the whole writing thing. It was incredible. But that's what it turned out to be. It's 8 years, 9 years later, and the people that know me now, if you told them stories of who I used to be, they never ever. You couldn't convince somebody. My
Mm.
wife, who's married to me, who I've told her every single thing there is, she doesn't believe it. It's just I made a complete transformation in prison,
Oh my
and that's
God.
the only place that I could have done it. There, a guy
Mm.
like me, wheeling and dealing, slick with the words, quick. He just it took 20 years. You couldn't have, if you'd have sentenced me what the plea bargain was supposed to be for a couple of 3 years, which is what I should have gotten. Had it been that, I'd have never learned a lesson. I needed that 20 years hanging over my head. I needed to stare at the bottom of that bunk. I needed to stare down 20 years. That's what it took. It took every bit of it. It took every.
Yes, so GC, like your motto from the worst of the places to the best of the intentions. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who feels that they have hit the rock bottom? And maybe even more importantly, what's something they shouldn't do while trying to rebuild their life?
Well, so what I always used to say, and listen, it wasn't my transformation wasn't overnight. That whole cliche about a what is it, the tiger never changes stripes. It's true. I know who I am as a person. I know what it took to make that change, and I know what I am compared to uh, other people. I know that I'm going to go out and do whatever. I'm going to do it 1,000%, or I'm going to kill myself doing it. So it took all of that, but I still had days. I still had you. Still, it isn't immediate. So I used to always tell myself, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass." And sure enough, it all passed. Sure enough, I ended up at a halfway house. I ended up getting home. I ended up married. I ended up with twins. I ended up with the books. I ended up on your podcast. I,
Mhm.
10 months ago, I was in a prison. I was in a prison bunk 10 months ago. It's just I hit the streets running. I said that I was never going to look back, and that's what you have to do. You just have to set a goal. You just have to do it. You have to work at it every day. You just can't write something down and think that it's going to happen. Which is what I used to think that you needed to do. There are so many steps to take to get to where you want to go, no matter what it is, and you just can't go backwards, and you can't stop. You just have to get up. You're gonna fall. I fell 1,000 times. I restarted sniff. I restarted the writing. I can't even tell you how many times.
Hmm. So now talking about Sniff, can you tell us a little bit about the book? Can you tell us if you had any problems in publishing the book or any what not to do's in the process of writing?
Well, did I have any problems publication? No, I was lucky enough to get an editor inside. That's a must. You have to have an editor. Authors think that every word we write is the best word ever written, and sometimes it's not. And it takes a strong-willed, strong-minded fireball of an editor, which I happen to have, to
Mhm.
get me where I need to be, or
Right.
on the right train of thought. And she happened to be tied into a storybook merchants. Storybook merchants been around for 50 years in Hollywood. They looked at the books, loved the writing. I came out to a 7 book publishing deal. They gave me a contract. My entertainment attorney out of Beverly Hills says he's never in his whole career seen a book contract like this. They read the first couple of books and gave me a contract for 7 books. Usually it's 1 or 2, 3 at the most. They gave me 7 right out the door.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah. So pretty
Yes.
amazed, so thankful. Incredible public relations department they gave me, or a public relations firm, Devin Blaine, the Blaine Group, unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I still can't believe it. I still pinch myself every day. Life has changed. It hasn't even been a year yet. It hasn't even been a year.
Yes. So, GC with Sniff and the coffee business also. They're going to launch in, I think, the month of November, both of them. What's the next chapter for you? How does it look like? So, as you mentioned, it's not even a year, it's just 10 months. So, what are some of the things that you're most excited about, maybe nervous about, and what is the next step into this new phase? How do you look at it?
Well, for the first time in my entire life, I'm married. I've never been married before. Um,
Mhm.
had We met during while I was in prison. Agreed to get married. Had agreed to wait on kids. In so many words, birth control didn't work, and we were lucky enough to have twins. So I'm going to spend some time with the babies and spend some time with my wife. I'm gonna We're gonna get this up cup coffee to a new dimension. Looking forward to that. After that, I'll probably just write. I won't do much else. I'm gonna write the rest of these books. I've got 2 series. One's this 3 book series, Snip, Smoke and Shoot, and then I've got the Mason Storm series, which is 4 or 5. They're pushing me for even maybe 6 or 7 books out of that. So
Mhm.
that's what I plan on doing.
Mhm.
Spending a lot of time with these kids. I'm definitely going to do some charity work, and I'm going to try to get into some kind of prison reform, something. I'm going to try to make a difference. I'm going to not take this for granted, like I've done other things in my life, and I'm going to turn this into something where I've got a voice, where I can maybe help some people out on both sides. There can be some stuff done, just easy changes that would change, that would actually
Mhm.
help. That would help inmates and help. It would help. It would help fathers get home to their kids sooner, mothers to get home to their kids. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people in prison in the United States. A lot.
Yes. So, JZ, by concluding this, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Your story, resilience, and honesty truly made this episode stand out. It's inspiring to hear how you have turned such challenging chapters of your life into powerful beginnings. Considering Sniff and the coffee business is going to be launched in a couple of months.
Yep.
So, again, thank you so much. I am confident that your experience, insights, and reflections will resonate to our listeners. And I'm excited to see what happens next. So, yeah, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
congratulations on your.
Thank you. Thank you.